The Deep Space Monitoring Station hung in the darkness like a metal spider, its sensors reaching out across the vast emptiness between stars. For 300 cycles it had watched the same patch of space, recording the movement of asteroids and the birth of distant suns. Nothing ever changed in this forgotten corner of the galaxy. Captain Zeftar walked slowly through the main control room, his forearms clasped behind his back. His blue skin gleamed under the soft lights as he checked each workstation. The crew, of mixed alien species, worked quietly at their posts, monitoring signals that came from nowhere and meant nothing. "Another boring shift," muttered Catherine from her position at the long-range sensors. Her insect-like eyes clicked as she adjusted the settings for the 100th time that day. Nothing but cosmic dust and solar wind. Zeftar nodded. As a member of the Galactic Council fleet, he had hoped for a more exciting assignment than watching empty space. The Council ruled over thousands of worlds and hundreds of species, but this sector remained stubbornly empty of intelligent life. The Council had been the greatest power in the galaxy for over 10,000 years. They had found and welcomed countless species into their fold. Some joined willingly, eager to share in the Council's advanced technology in peaceful ways. Others needed more convincing, but in the end, they all saw the wisdom of Council rule. "Sir," called out Velnor from the communication station. His tentacles moved quickly over the controls. "I'm picking up something strange." Zeftar moved to look over the young officer's shoulder. "What kind of strange?" "Energy readings, sir. But they don't match anything in our database." Velnor's tentacles trembled slightly. "The signature is massive." Catherine's head turned toward them, her compound eyes reflecting the light. "Massive how?" "Like nothing I've ever seen," Velnor replied, his voice getting higher. "The energy output is off our scales." Zeftar frowned and walked to the main display screen. Numbers and graphs appeared, showing wave patterns and energy readings that made no sense. Could it be a natural phenomenon? A new type of star? "No, sir," Catherine said, her claws clicking on her controls. "The pattern is too regular, too controlled. This is artificial." A chill ran through the control room. In all their years of monitoring space, they had never seen readings like these. The energy signature was not just large, it was impossibly dense and focused. "Distance?" Zeftar asked. 12 light hours and closing," Catherine reported. "Whatever it is, it's heading straight for Council space." Zeftar felt his heart beating faster. A new species was always exciting, but these readings suggested something far more advanced than the usual primitives they encountered. Most new species barely managed to achieve faster-than-light travel. Their ships were small, weak things that could barely cross a single star system. "Sir," Velnor spoke up again, "should I contact Council Command?" Zeftar considered this. The Council had strict procedures for first contact with new species. A diplomatic team would be assembled, translators would be prepared, and a proper welcome would be arranged. But that could take days, and whatever was approaching would be here much sooner. "Not yet," he decided. "Let's gather more information first. I don't want to sound an alarm over a sensor malfunction." But even as he said it, Zeftar knew this was no malfunction. The readings were too consistent, too strong. Something was coming, and it was unlike anything they had encountered before. Hours passed as the crew watched the approaching signal. The energy readings only grew stronger, confirming that whatever was heading their way was real and massive. Zeftar found himself pacing the control room, his anxiety growing with each passing moment. "Sir," Catherine called out, "I'm getting more detailed readings now. The object appears to be artificial, definitely a spacecraft of some kind." "Size estimate?" Zeftar asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Catherine's claws stopped clicking. She stared at her screen for a long moment. "Sir, that can't be right." "What can't be right?" "The size readings. According to my sensors, this ship is over 15 kilometers long." Silence fell over the control room. The largest Council ships were barely 2 kilometers in length. Even the massive dreadnoughts that protected the core worlds were only 3 kilometers from bow to stern. A 15-kilometer ship was beyond imagination. "Check your sensors again," Zeftar ordered, but his voice lacked conviction. Catherine ran the scans 3 more times. Each time, the results were the same. "Confirmed, sir. 15.2 kilometers in length. Mass readings suggest extremely dense construction. This thing is built like a fortress." Zeftar felt his confidence draining away. The Council's first contact procedures were designed for primitive species flying small, weak ships. "They were not prepared for something like this, sir." Velnor's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm detecting weapon signatures." "How many?" Zeftar asked, dreading the answer. I can't count them all, sir. There are weapons ports covering the entire hull, hundreds of them, maybe thousands." The control room fell silent again. In all of Council history, no species had ever approached their space with such overwhelming firepower. The very idea was unthinkable. New species were supposed to be grateful for Council contact, eager to join their peaceful civilization. "Sir," Catherine spoke slowly, "what should we do?" Zeftar stared at the display screen, watching the impossible readings scroll past. His training told him to follow protocol, to contact Council command and wait for orders, but his pride as a Council officer told him something different. The Council had never backed down from a challenge. They were the rightful rulers of the galaxy, the guardians of peace and order. No primitive species, no matter how large their ship, could threaten that authority. "Prepare the diplomatic fleet," he ordered finally. "Standard first contact formation." "Sir?" Velnor looked confused. "Shouldn't we wait for reinforcements?" 12 ships should be more than enough to handle one vessel, Zeftar said with more confidence than he felt. "Even a large one." The K. Truth was, Zeftar couldn't imagine any species building a ship that could threaten Council forces. Their technology was thousands of years advanced beyond most civilizations. Their shields were impenetrable, their weapons devastatingly accurate. Size meant nothing against superior technology. "Sir," Catherine said carefully, "perhaps we should at least inform Council command of the situation." Zeftar waved dismissively. "After we've made first contact. I won't have them thinking I can't handle a simple diplomatic mission." Within hours, 12 Council cruisers had assembled near the monitoring station. Each ship was a masterpiece of Council engineering, sleek and deadly. Their crews were experienced veterans who had handled dozens of first contact situations. As they moved into formation, Zeftar felt his confidence returning. The approaching ship might be large, but it was still just one vessel against 12 of the Council's finest. The newcomers would quickly learn to respect Council authority. "All ships report ready, sir," came the report from his communications officer. "Excellent. Set course to intercept. Let's go welcome our new neighbors to the galaxy." The fleet moved out, their drives leaving trails of blue light in the darkness. Behind them, the monitoring station continued to track the approaching energy signature. The readings were growing stronger by the hour and new details were becoming clear. Catherine remained at her post, studying the data with growing unease. The approaching ship wasn't just large, it was dense beyond anything she had ever seen. The energy readings suggested power systems that defied understanding. And the weapon signatures. There were so many of them that her computer couldn't track them all. She thought about calling Captain Zeftar to share her concerns but decided against it. He had made his decision, and she was just a sensor operator. What did she know about military tactics or alien encounters? But as she watched the readings continue to climb, Catherine couldn't shake the feeling that they were all making a terrible mistake. The Council had encountered thousands of species over the millennia, but none had ever approached with such obvious military capability. Most new species sent small scout ships or trade vessels for first contact. They came seeking knowledge or friendship, not displaying enough firepower to level a planet. This ship was different, and that difference worried her more than she cared to admit. Hours passed as the two forces moved toward each other through the vast emptiness of space. The Council fleet maintained their standard formation, confident in their superiority. The alien vessel continued its steady approach, giving no sign of changing course or reducing speed. Finally, long-range sensors began to pick up visual data. What they saw defied all expectations and challenged everything they thought they knew about spacecraft design. The approaching ship was not just large, it was a floating fortress. Its hull was thick and angular, covered in armor plating that could withstand devastating attacks. Weapon ports dotted every surface, each one large enough to house cannons that could destroy a city. But it was more than just the weapons that made the ship terrifying. It was the obvious intent behind its design. This was not a ship built for exploration or trade. It was not designed to inspire awe or demonstrate artistic achievement. It was built for one purpose only: war. The Council fleet suddenly seemed very small as they approached this metal mountain floating in space. But orders were orders, and Captain Zeftar had committed them to this course of action. As the distance closed between the two forces, sensor readings revealed more troubling details. The alien ship's energy output was beyond anything in Council records. Its shields registered as active and incredibly powerful. Most disturbing of all, its weapons appeared to be charging. The stage was set for an encounter that would change the galaxy forever. On one side, the proud Council fleet with thousands of years of experience and technological advancement. On the other, a single massive warship representing a species that the galaxy had never seen before. Neither side yet understood what they were truly facing, but both were about to learn lessons that would reshape their understanding of power, technology, and their place in the universe. Captain Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Ragnarok, his hands clasped behind his back as he studied the tactical display. The massive view screen showed the starfield ahead, empty except for the distant points of light that marked their destination. After 6 months of deep space travel, they were finally approaching the edge of what the scientists called active galactic space. "Sir, we're picking up artificial signals ahead," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from her position at the sensor station. Her fingers moved quickly over the holographic controls. "Multiple sources. Looks like we found our neighbors." Chen nodded slowly. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence. The Ragnarok had been sent specifically for this purpose, to represent Earth and her colonies in whatever lay beyond their small corner of the galaxy. "How many sources?" Chen asked. 12 distinct signatures, sir. They appear to be spacecraft, arranged in some kind of formation." Kim paused, studying her readings. "They're heading toward us. Weapons status? All systems show as armed and ready, but they're not targeting us yet," reported Chief Tactical Officer James Rodriguez. "Their formation suggests they're trying to intercept our course." Chen walked to the captain's chair, a massive seat designed to withstand the incredible forces that the Ragnarok could generate. The ship around him hummed with barely contained power, 15 kilometers of human engineering and determination. The Ragnarok was humanity's answer to the unknown dangers of deep space. When the first long-range probes had detected signs of advanced alien civilizations, Earth's leaders had decided to meet them as equals. The result was the Titan-class warship program, designed to ensure that humanity would never be seen as weak or primitive. "Sir, incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Lisa Park. "It's strange. The signal is being broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Can you decode it?" "Working on it, sir. The computer is analyzing the patterns now." Park's brow furrowed in concentration. "Got it. It appears to be some kind of universal translator matrix. Very sophisticated." Chen smiled slightly. At least their new neighbors were prepared for communication with unknown species. That was a good sign. "Put it through." The view screen flickered and changed to show the interior of an alien bridge. Chen found himself looking at a blue-skinned humanoid creature with 4 arms and large dark eyes. The being appeared to be wearing some kind of military uniform. "Greetings, unknown vessel," the alien said, its voice coming through clearly despite the obvious translation process. "I am Captain Zeftar of the Galactic Council Fleet. You are entering Council space without authorization." Chen stepped forward, ensuring he was visible on their transmission. "Greetings, Captain Zeftar. I am Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earth ship Ragnarok. We come in peace, seeking contact with other intelligent species. Zeftar's expression changed slightly, and Chen could see the alien's eyes moving as if studying something off-screen. Your vessel is unusually large for a first contact mission. We wanted to make sure we could defend ourselves if necessary, Chen replied honestly. We had no way of knowing what we might encounter out here. There was a pause as Zeftar seemed to consider this. When he spoke again, his tone had become more formal. As representatives of the Galactic Council, we welcome you to this region of space. However, your vessel must submit to inspection before proceeding further. Chen felt a warning tingle at the back of his neck. The alien's tone had shifted from greeting to demand very quickly. I appreciate the welcome, Captain, but I'm afraid we can't submit to inspection. We're on a peaceful mission, but we're not prepared to surrender our vessel to unknown parties. You misunderstand, Zeftar said, and now there was definitely an edge to his voice. This is not a request. All vessels entering Council space must be inspected. It is the law. Whose law? Chen asked calmly. We're not citizens of your council. Captain, we're explorers from Earth and we follow Earth's laws. On the view screen, Chen could see Zeftar's forearms moving in what appeared to be agitation. You are now in Council space, human. Our laws apply to all who enter our territory. Chen glanced at his tactical officer, who shook his head slightly. The alien ships were still not targeting them, but their formation had shifted to surround the Ragnarok. It was a classic intimidation maneuver. Captain Zeftar, Chen said carefully, perhaps we should arrange for proper diplomatic contact. I'm sure our governments can work out the details of our presence here. There are no details to work out, Zeftar replied sharply. You will submit to inspection, or you will be forced to submit. The choice is yours. The transmission ended, abruptly leaving the bridge of the Ragnarok in tense silence. Chen looked around at his crew, seeing a mix of concern and anger on their faces. Analysis, Commander Rodriguez? Chen asked. Sir, they've moved into an attack formation. Classic, pincer movement, designed to hit us from multiple angles simultaneously. Rodriguez studied his tactical display. Their ships are about 2 kilometers long each, heavily armed, but sir... But what? They're positioning themselves like they expect us to be helpless against their combined firepower. It's the kind of formation you'd use against a much smaller, weaker vessel. Chen nodded. The aliens had looked at the Ragnarok and seen only size, not understanding what that size represented. They had no idea that humanity's approach to warfare was fundamentally different from what they were used to. Incoming transmission, sir, Park announced. Same source. On screen. Zeftar appeared again, but this time his expression was harder. Human vessel, you have 60 seconds to lower your shields and prepare for boarding, or we will take action. Chen straightened his shoulders. Captain Zeftar, I strongly advise against any hostile action. We have no wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. Your threats are meaningless, Zeftar sneered. You are 1 ship against 12. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. The transmission ended again. Chen turned to his crew, seeing them all waiting for his orders. These were good people, hand-picked for this mission. They deserved a captain who would protect them. Sir, Rodriguez said quietly. Their weapons are charging. Chen walked to the tactical station and studied the display showing the enemy formation. 12 ships against 1. In the aliens' experience, that was probably overwhelming odds. But they didn't understand what they were facing. The Ragnarok wasn't just large, it was dense. Every meter of its hull was packed with weapons, shields, armor, and redundant systems. Humanity had built it with one guiding principle. If they were going to meet aliens, they were going to meet them from a position of strength. All hands. This is the captain, Chen announced over the ship's communication system. We are about to be attacked by alien vessels. This is not what we wanted, but we will defend ourselves. All crew to battle stations. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship as 15,000 crew members moved to their combat positions. The Ragnarok transformed from an exploration vessel into a weapon of war in a matter of minutes. Shields at maximum power, Rodriguez reported. All weapon systems armed and ready. Sir, Kim called out from sensors, the alien ships are firing. On the view screen, Chen could see bright flashes as the Council ships unleashed their weapons. Streams of plasma energy and particle beams crossed the space between the two forces, striking the Ragnarok shields with tremendous force. The massive human warship didn't even shudder. The alien weapons, impressive as they were, simply couldn't penetrate the multi-layered defensive systems that protected the Titan-class vessel. Energy readings showed the shields absorbing and dispersing the attack with ease. Damage report, Chen ordered. No damage, sir, Rodriguez replied, a note of amazement in his voice. Shields are holding at 98%. Their weapons barely scratched us. Chen felt a grim satisfaction. The aliens had made their choice. Now they would learn what humanity was capable of. Open a channel, he ordered. Zeftar's face appeared on screen again, but now the alien looked confused and worried. Impossible. Our weapons should have disabled your shields. Captain Zeftar, Chen said calmly, you have attacked a peaceful vessel. This is your only warning. Stand down immediately or face the consequences. You're bluffing, Zeftar snarled. No single ship can withstand the combined firepower of a Council battle group. You're about to find out, Chen replied. He turned to Rodriguez. Target the lead vessel. Point defense turret 7, single shot. Rodriguez's eyes widened slightly. Point defense turrets were designed to shoot down incoming missiles and fighter craft. Using one against a capital ship was almost insulting, but he followed orders. Target locked, sir. Fire. A single beam of coherent energy lanced out from the Ragnarok, striking the lead Council ship amidships. The alien vessel, which had seemed so impressive moments before, simply vaporized. One moment it was there. The next it was an expanding cloud of superheated gas. The silence on the alien communication channel was deafening. Chen could see Zeftar staring in shock at something off-screen, probably his tactical display showing the complete destruction of one of his ships. Captain Chen? Zeftar's voice was barely a whisper. What did you do? That was a point defense weapon, Captain, designed for shooting down small targets like missiles. Chen's voice remained calm and professional. Would you like to see what our actual weapons can do? The remaining 11 Council ships had stopped firing. Chen could see them on his tactical display, hanging motionless in space as their crews tried to process what they had just witnessed. This is impossible, Zeftar said, more to himself than to Chen. No species has technology this advanced. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Captain Zeftar, Chen said firmly, you attacked us without provocation. We responded with minimal force to defend ourselves. I suggest we end this before it escalates further. For a long moment the alien captain said nothing. When he finally spoke, his voice was shaky. What do you want? The same thing I wanted when this started, Chen replied. Peaceful contact between our species, but that will have to wait until your superiors can meet with proper diplomatic representatives. Chen gestured to Park, who cut the transmission. The bridge fell silent as the crew processed what had just happened. Their first contact with alien intelligence had resulted in the destruction of an alien warship. Sir, Rodriguez said quietly, should we pursue the retreating vessels? Chen looked at the tactical display. The remaining Council ships were indeed retreating, moving away from the Ragnarok as quickly as their drives could carry them. No. Let them go. They have a story to tell and their leaders need to hear it. Chen settled back into his captain's chair, knowing that everything had just changed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had arrived, and they were not the primitive species that others might have expected. The Ragnarok hung in space, its weapons powered down, but ready. Around it, the stars watched silently as news of humanity's arrival began to spread across the galaxy, carried by the terrified survivors of the Council fleet. The emergency meeting chamber on Council Prime buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from dozens of species gathered around the circular table. The holographic display in the center showed the tactical recordings from Captain Zeftar's encounter playing the same devastating scene over and over again. High Counselor Velthar, a tall, crystalline being whose body reflected the chamber's lights in rainbow patterns, stood at the head of the table. Her voice resonated with harmonic undertones as she addressed the assembly. "We have all seen the recordings," she announced. "The question before us is simple. How do we respond to this new threat?" "Threat?" interrupted Counselor Kesran, his reptilian features showing confusion. "They destroyed only one ship. Perhaps this was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Velthar's crystalline form seemed to pulse with anger. "They vaporized a council cruiser with what they claimed was a point defense weapon. If that is their weakest armament, what might their actual weapons be capable of?" Around the table, representatives shifted uncomfortably. The council had faced challenges before, but never anything like this. For 10,000 years, they had been the supreme authority in the galaxy. Every species they encountered was either grateful for council protection or quickly convinced of its necessity. Admiral Thexnor, commander of the council's main battle fleet, activated his personal display. "I've analyzed the weapon signatures from the engagement. The energy output is unlike anything in our databases. The focused coherence of the beam suggests technology that shouldn't be possible. All technology is possible given enough time and resources," said Dr. Yathara, the Council's chief science advisor. Her multiple tentacles gestured at the holographic replay. "What concerns me is the efficiency. They achieved total molecular disruption with a single shot. Our shields wouldn't have lasted any longer than Zeftar's ship." Silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. If their own shields were useless against human weapons, then their technological advantage had just evaporated. "What do we know about their home system?" asked Counselor Merdane, a gas-based life form whose voice came through atmospheric speakers. Admiral Thexnor brought up a new display showing stellar charts. Long-range probes have identified their point of origin, a system they call Sol containing 9 planets. The third planet appears to be their homeworld, designated Earth in their language. Population estimates. Preliminary scans suggest approximately 8 billion individuals on the homeworld alone. They also appear to have colonies on several other planets and moons within their system. Velthar's form flickered with concern. 8 billion? That's larger than most council member species' total populations. It gets worse, Thexnor continued. We're detecting massive industrial activity throughout their system. Shipyards, mining operations, manufacturing facilities. Their industrial capacity appears to exceed anything we've seen. Counselor Kesran leaned forward. Surely you're overestimating. No single species could have such extensive infrastructure. The evidence is clear, Dr. Yathara interjected. These humans appear to have developed differently than any species we've encountered. Most civilizations focus on intellectual advancement, artistic achievement, or spiritual growth once they achieve space travel. These humans seem to have focused on industrial expansion and military capability. But why? Asked Merdane. What drives a species to build such overwhelming force? The question hung in the air unanswered. In all their centuries of first contact, the Council had never encountered a species that approached the galaxy with such obvious military strength. Most newcomers were eager to join the galactic community, to share in the peace and prosperity that Council membership offered. Perhaps, suggested Counselor Zixtel, whose insectoid features clicked nervously, we should try diplomatic contact, send a proper ambassador rather than a military patrol. After they destroyed one of our ships? Velthar's harmonic voice rose in pitch. That would show weakness. What would you suggest instead? Kesran asked. Military action against a species that can vaporize our cruisers with their weakest weapons? The debate continued for hours, with no clear consensus emerging. Some council members argued for immediate military strikes before humanity could expand further. Others pushed for diplomatic solutions, hoping to avoid a conflict they might not win. A few suggested simply avoiding human space entirely, pretending the encounter had never happened. As the arguments raged, new intelligence reports began arriving. Council scouts maintaining careful distance from human space reported disturbing developments. Multiple massive energy signatures were moving through the Sol system. More ships, apparently as large as the first one, were active and mobile. How many ships do they have? Velthar demanded as Admiral Thexnor presented the latest data. Conservative estimates suggest at least 12 vessels of similar size to the one we encountered, possibly more. Thexnor's expression was grim. And there are indications of even larger ships under construction. The chamber fell silent. 12 ships like the Ragnarok could devastate the Council's entire fleet. The thought of even larger vessels was almost unimaginable. Dr. Yathara's tentacles writhed in agitation. I've been analyzing their ship design philosophy. These humans appear to follow a doctrine of overwhelming superiority. They don't just want to win battles, they want to make resistance impossible. That's not how civilized species approach conflict, protested Councillor Myrdain. There are rules, conventions, proportional response. These humans didn't grow up with our rules, Yathara replied. They developed in isolation, creating their own methods, and their methods appear to be devastatingly effective. As if summoned by their discussion, an urgent communication arrived from the border regions. Captain Zeftar, still shaken from his encounter, reported new developments. High Counselor, his image appeared in the chamber's communication display. The human ship has moved deeper into our space. They're not heading for any strategic target, but they're clearly exploring our territory. Just the one ship? Thexnor asked. Yes, sir. But they're scanning everything. Every planet, every station, every patrol route. It's like they're mapping our entire defensive network. Velthar's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. If the humans were gathering intelligence on Council defenses, it could only mean they were preparing for something bigger. Order all border patrols to maintain distance, she commanded. Do not engage unless directly threatened. We cannot afford to lose more ships. After Zeftar's transmission ended, the Council chamber erupted in heated debate once again. The humans were clearly not going away, and their actions suggested they had no intention of submitting to Council authority. We need to make a decision, Velthar announced, calling for order. Do we treat these humans as a potential threat to be contained, or as a new power to be negotiated with? They've already demonstrated their threat level, Admiral Thexnor said firmly. I recommend immediate military response before they can establish a stronger position. With what? Asked Dr. Yathara. Our entire battle fleet might not be enough to stop a dozen ships like theirs. Then we call for full mobilization, Thexnor replied. Every council member contributes their military forces. We outnumber them thousands to one. And if we lose? Kesran asked quietly. What happens to council authority if our combined fleets are defeated by a single species? The question silenced the chamber. The council's power rested on their perceived invincibility. If they engaged humanity and lost, their authority over thousands of worlds would collapse overnight. Perhaps, said Councillor Zixtel hesitantly, we should consider coexistence. Allow them to claim a portion of space while maintaining our authority over the rest of the galaxy. Absolutely not, Velthar's voice rang with finality. The Council does not negotiate with upstart species. We rule because we are superior, not because we make deals with primitives. But are they primitives? Dr. Yathara asked. Their technology appears to exceed ours in several key areas. Their industrial capacity dwarfs anything we've achieved. Perhaps it's time to admit that we've encountered something beyond our experience. As the debate continued, more reports arrived from the border regions. Human ships had been detected in multiple sectors, always moving carefully, but never backing down when confronted by Council patrols. They seemed to be everywhere at once, gathering information and asserting their presence. Most disturbing of all was the pattern of their exploration. The humans weren't randomly wandering through space. They were systematically mapping Council territory, identifying strategic targets, and defensive positions. It was the behavior of a military force preparing for war. Time is running out, Admiral Thexnor warned. Every day we delay gives them more opportunity to prepare. If we're going to act, it must be soon. Act how? Velthar demanded. You've seen their capabilities. One ship destroyed our cruiser without taking damage. How do we fight an enemy we can't hurt? We find a way, Thexanor replied grimly. The alternative is accepting that the Council's 10,000-year reign is over. The weight of those words settled over the chamber like a physical presence. For millennia, the Council had been the unquestioned authority in the galaxy. The idea that a single species could challenge that authority was almost unthinkable. But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Humanity had arrived in galactic space, and they had done so with overwhelming military capability. They showed no interest in Council authority, no desire to join the established order. They simply took what they wanted and dared anyone to stop them. As the emergency session continued into the night, one thing became clear. The galaxy would never be the same. Whether through war or negotiation, accommodation or resistance, the age of unchallenged Council dominance was ending. Humanity had announced their arrival with the destruction of a Council warship. Now the galaxy waited to see what they would do next, knowing that whatever came would reshape the balance of power among the stars forever. The Council faced a choice that would define the future of galactic civilization: adapt to a new reality where they were no longer the supreme power, or fight a war they might not be able to win. Either way, the universe was about to change in ways none of them could fully comprehend. 3 days after the emergency Council meeting, the first intelligence reports from deep space began arriving at Council Prime. What they revealed shattered every assumption the galactic powers had made about humanity and their capabilities. Dr. Ithara stood before a massive holographic display in the Council's Strategic Planning Center, her tentacles manipulating data streams as fast as her processors could handle them. Around her, military analysts from a dozen species worked frantically to make sense of the incoming information. High Counselor, she called to Velthar, who had taken up permanent residence in the command center. You need to see this. The crystalline being approached the display, her form reflecting the ominous red glow of the tactical readouts. What have you found? It's not just one ship, Ithara said, her voice tight with controlled panic. Our long-range probes have identified at least 37 vessels of similar size to the Ragnarok. They're organized into battle groups and spread across multiple sectors. Velthar's harmonic voice cracked slightly. 37? That's impossible. No species has the resources to build so many massive warships. Admiral Thexanor looked up from his own display station. It gets worse, High Counselor. Analysis of their construction patterns suggests these are just their heavy cruisers. We're detecting energy signatures that indicate even larger vessels under construction. How much larger? Velthar asked, though she dreaded the answer. Conservative estimates suggest ships up to 25 kilometers in length, possibly larger. Thexanor's military bearing couldn't hide his obvious fear. If these readings are accurate, humanity possesses the largest space fleet in galactic history. The command center fell silent except for the hum of processing equipment. Every being present understood the implications. The Council's combined military forces consisted of approximately 2,000 ships, most of them much smaller than human vessels. If humanity possessed even 50 ships like the Ragnarok, they could challenge the entire galactic order. Sir, called out a young Kethran analyst from her position near the communications array. We're receiving priority transmissions from multiple border stations. The humans they're everywhere. Velthar moved to the communications station, her crystalline form casting strange shadows on the displays. Explain. Reports from 17 different sectors, High Counselor. Human ships conducting systematic scans of our territory. They're mapping every strategic asset, every defensive position, every major trade route. The analysts' compound eyes showed genuine terror. It's like they're preparing for a complete military occupation. Any hostile actions? Admiral Thexanor asked. No direct attacks, sir, but they're not responding to our hails or warnings to leave Council space. When our patrols try to intercept them, the human ships simply ignore them. Our vessels can't get close enough to force a confrontation. Dr. Ithara brought up a New display showing human ship movements across a three-dimensional map of local space. Look at the pattern. This isn't random exploration. They're conducting a military survey of our entire defensive network. The movement patterns were indeed systematic and professional. Human ships moved through Council space like they owned it, gathering intelligence with the confidence of a superior force. They showed no fear of Council patrols, no concern about territorial violations. "How is this possible?" asked Councillor Kesseran, who had arrived with several other Council members. 3 days ago, we had never seen a human ship. Now they're operating throughout our space with impunity. They were prepared, Yathara replied grimly. While we were debating what to do about one ship, they were deploying their entire reconnaissance fleet. This level of coordination suggests extensive, advanced planning. Planning for what? Velthar demanded. Invasion, Admiral Thexnor said bluntly. This is classic pre-invasion intelligence gathering. They're identifying targets, mapping defenses, and establishing operational parameters. The word invasion sent a chill through the command center. The Council had never faced a threat of this magnitude. Their military doctrine was based on technological superiority and overwhelming local force. They had never needed to prepare for a conflict with an enemy that might be stronger than they were. Recommendations? Velthar asked. Full military mobilization, Thexnor replied immediately. Call up every reserve fleet, activate all defensive platforms, and prepare for total war. Against an enemy we can't defeat? Asked Councillor Murdane, his gaseous form flickering with anxiety. We've seen what their weakest weapons can do. How do we fight something like that? Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the command center. Emergency signals flashed on every display as a priority communication came through from the outer rim. Council command, this is Monitor Station Epsilon 7, came the panicked voice of the station commander. We have multiple massive energy signatures approaching our position. Size and configuration unknown, but they're huge. How many contacts? Thexnor demanded. 3 primary signatures, sir. But each one is. They're bigger than anything we've ever seen. Estimated length over 20 kilometers each. The command center erupted in controlled chaos as every analyst tried to process this new development. If the humans were deploying their largest ships, it could only mean they were preparing for something major. Monitor Station Epsilon 7, Velthar's harmonic voice cut through the noise. Are they targeting your station? No, High Counselor, they're just sitting there, like they're waiting for something. Dr. Ythara's tentacles moved frantically over her controls as she tried to make sense of the new data. High Counselor, I'm receiving similar reports from 6 other monitoring stations. Human ships are taking positions throughout our space, but they're not attacking. What are they doing then? Kesseran asked. Making a statement, Admiral Thexnor replied grimly. They're showing us that they can position massive fleets anywhere in Council space without being stopped. It's a demonstration of power. As if summoned by his words, a new communication signal appeared on the main display. This time it wasn't from a panicked monitoring station or terrified patrol ship. It was a direct transmission from the human fleet. The image that appeared on screen showed a human officer in a crisp military uniform. His appearance was unremarkable by galactic standards, but his eyes held a confidence that was deeply unsettling to the watching Council members. Greetings, Galactic Council, the human said, his voice carrying easily through the translation matrix. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Navy. I believe we need to talk. Velthar stepped forward, her crystalline form reflecting the display's light. Admiral Chen, I am High Counselor Velthar, leader of the Galactic Council. Your ships have violated our territorial sovereignty. Have they? Chen asked with a slight smile. By whose authority do you claim sovereignty over this region of space? By right of discovery and 10,000 years of peaceful governance, Velthar replied, her harmonic voice taking on a formal tone. Interesting, Chen said. And who granted you this right? Was it the species you encountered when you first achieved space travel? Or did you simply declare yourselves the rightful rulers and enforce that claim through military power? The question struck at the heart of Council authority. The truth was that the Council had indeed claimed their position. through superior technology and military force, exactly as humanity appeared to be doing now. The Council has brought peace and prosperity to thousands of worlds, Councillor Kesseron interjected. I'm sure you have, Chen replied. And now humanity will bring our own form of peace and prosperity to this region. The difference is that we're not asking for your permission. Admiral Thexnor stepped forward. Are you declaring war on the Galactic Council? Chen's expression grew serious. War? No, Admiral. War implies that both sides have a realistic chance of victory. What I'm declaring is humanity's independence from any external authority over our expansion and development. You cannot simply ignore galactic law, Velthar protested. Galactic law? Chen's smile returned. You mean council law, the rules you created to maintain your own power. Humanity was never party to those agreements, High Counselor. We don't recognize your authority over us. The implications were staggering. If humanity refused to acknowledge council authority, it would set a precedent that could shatter the entire galactic order. Other species might begin to question council rule, leading to chaos throughout the galaxy. What do you want? Velthar asked finally. Simple coexistence, Chen replied. Humanity will continue to expand and develop as we see fit. The Council can continue to govern those species that choose to remain under your authority. As long as you don't interfere with human interests, we have no conflict. And if we do interfere? Admiral Thexnor asked. Chen's expression hardened. Then you'll discover why humanity builds such large ships, Admiral. I suggest you don't. Make that choice. The transmission ended, leaving the Council Command Center in stunned silence. The human admiral had just delivered an ultimatum disguised as a diplomatic overture. Accept humanity's independence, or face the consequences. Analysis, Velthar demanded. Dr. Yathara's tentacles moved over her displays as she compiled the data. Based on observed ship positions and energy signatures, humanity has deployed approximately 60% of their known fleet for this demonstration. The remaining 40% is likely defending their home systems or conducting operations elsewhere. Could we win a direct confrontation? Asked Kesseran. Doubtful, Admiral Thexnor admitted reluctantly. Even if we mobilized every ship in the Council fleet, we would be facing an enemy with superior firepower and defensive capabilities. Our losses would be catastrophic. So we just surrender? Velthar's harmonic voice rose in pitch. Allow these upstarts to dictate terms to the rightful rulers of the galaxy? What choice do we have? Merdane asked. They're offering coexistence. If we refuse, they might decide that the Council poses too great a threat to be allowed to continue. The horrible logic of the situation was becoming clear. Humanity held all the advantages. They had superior technology, overwhelming military force, and the initiative. The Council's only choices were accommodation or annihilation. As the debate continued, more reports arrived from across Council space. Human ships were withdrawing from their surveillance positions, but not before making their point. They had demonstrated their ability to position massive fleets anywhere in the galaxy. Without being stopped, the age of Council supremacy was over. Whether through negotiation or conquest, humanity had announced their arrival as a galactic superpower. The only question now was whether the Council would adapt to this new reality or be swept aside by it. In the depths of space, human ships continued their methodical expansion, carrying with them the promise of a new galactic order where Earth's children would never again bow to alien authority. 6 months had passed since Admiral Sarah Chen's ultimatum, and the galaxy had begun to adapt to its new reality. The massive council chambers on Council Prime buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from hundreds of species gathered for what many considered the most important session in galactic history. High Counselor Velthar stood at the center of the circular chamber, her crystalline form reflecting the light from countless display screens showing star charts, fleet positions, and economic data. The numbers told a story that no one in the chamber wanted to acknowledge but could no longer ignore. Honored representatives, Velthar began, her harmonic voice carrying to every corner of the vast space. We gather today to address the fundamental changes that have occurred in our galactic community over the past several months. The chamber fell silent, Everyone present knew what those changes meant. Humanity had not only refused to submit to Council authority, they had begun actively challenging it throughout the galaxy. The situation reports speak for themselves, continued Velthar, activating the central holographic display. 17 star systems have declared independence from Council governance. 23 more have requested protection agreements with human forces. Trade routes that have operated under Council oversight for millennia are now being patrolled by human warships. A murmur of unease rippled through the assembled representatives. The Galactic Council had ruled through a combination of technological superiority and the promise of peace and prosperity. Now, for the first time in 10,000 years, species were choosing an alternative. Councillor Kesseran, his reptilian features showing obvious distress, activated his personal display. The economic implications are even more disturbing. Human, industrial output has increased by 400% in the last 6 months. They're building ships faster than our intelligence services can count them. How is that possible? Asked Representative Yixtal of the Merchant Guild Coalition. No single species should have such massive production capability. Dr. Yathara, the Council's chief science advisor, projected new data onto the main display. Humanity's approach to industrialization is unlike anything we've encountered. While most species focus on efficiency and sustainability, humans focus on scale and redundancy. They build multiple shipyards, multiple manufacturing centers, multiple everything. The display showed images captured by long-range sensors of the Sol system. What they revealed was staggering. Massive orbital shipyards surrounded Earth and several other human worlds, each one capable of producing warships that dwarfed anything in the Council fleet. But the resources required, Representative Velnara of the agricultural world said, weakly. The energy cost alone should be prohibitive. Human energy production has also scaled exponentially, Yathara replied. They're not just building Dyson rings around their star, they're building multiple rings. Their energy output exceeds the entire Council by a factor of 20. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. The Council represented thousands of worlds and hundreds of species. The idea that a single species could outproduce them all was almost incomprehensible. Admiral Thexnor, looking older and more tired than he had 6 months ago, stood to address the assembly. Military intelligence confirms what Dr. Yathara's economic data suggests. Humanity now operates at least 200 ships of cruiser class or larger. They have battle groups stationed in 17 sectors, patrol fleets covering major trade, routes and construction facilities that could triple their fleet size within a year. What about our own military response? Asked Representative Mordan of the Core Defense Alliance. Surely our combined fleets can still challenge human expansion. Thexnor's expression grew grim. 3 weeks ago, I ordered a probe of human defenses in the Kepler sector. A small fleet of 6 cruisers was to conduct reconnaissance and test their response capabilities. And, Velthar prompted, the fleet was intercepted by a single human vessel. When our commander demanded identification and stated our intent to patrol the area, the human captain informed him that the sector was now under human protection. Our ships were given 60 seconds to leave or face the consequences. Did they comply? Asked Kesseran. The fleet commander chose to assert Council authority. Thexnor replied heavily. He ordered his ships to continue their patrol route. The human vessel destroyed all 6 cruisers in 47 seconds. Silence fell over the chamber like a physical weight. 6 Council cruisers, each one a masterpiece of galactic engineering, destroyed in less than a minute by a single human ship. The human captain then transmitted a formal protest to Council command. Thexnor continued. He stated that humanity had no desire for conflict, but would not tolerate military provocations in sectors under their protection. Representative Zixmel of the Outer Rim territories leaned forward. Protection? They're claiming to protect sectors that don't belong to them. Actually, said a new voice from the chamber's entrance, those sectors asked for our protection. Every head turned as 3 figures entered the chamber. They were humans, walking with the confident stride of people accustomed to authority. The lead figure, a woman in an elegant diplomatic uniform, approached the center of the chamber. I am Ambassador Diana Reyes, representing the United Earth government in diplomatic matters, she announced. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber's translation systems. I believe you've been discussing our recent activities. Velthar's crystalline form flickered with surprise and anger. This is a closed session of the Galactic Council. You have no authority to be here. Actually, I do, Reyes replied calmly. 17 systems that were formerly under Council governance have requested human protection and representation. As their chosen representative, I have the right to speak for their interests. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. If 17 systems had formally requested human protection, they were no longer Council territories. Humanity wasn't expanding through conquest. They were growing through voluntary association. This is preposterous, protested Representative Velnara. These systems have been Council members for centuries. They cannot simply change allegiance. According to whose law? Ambassador Reyes asked. The Council's own charter guarantees the right of member systems to withdraw from the alliance if their needs are not being met. These systems have formally invoked that right. Dr. Ythara's tentacles moved frantically over her displays as she pulled up the relevant documents. She's correct. The charter does allow for voluntary withdrawal, though the process was designed to be extremely difficult. Difficult, but not impossible, Reyes said with a slight smile. And when a system faces threats that the Council cannot adequately address, the requirements are significantly reduced. What threats? Demanded Admiral Thexnor. The Council has maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. Has it? Reyes asked. The Zeta Reticuli system was raided by pirates 7 times in the last year. Council patrols arrived an average of 6 hours after each attack. When they requested additional protection, they were told that resources were limited. She gestured, and a holographic display appeared showing patrol routes and response times. Under human protection, the Zeta Reticuli system has experienced 0 pirate attacks. Our patrol ships maintain continuous coverage and can respond to threats within minutes. The data was undeniable. Human protection was demonstrably more effective than Council security in many regions. The Altair colonies requested disaster relief after their moon mining operation suffered catastrophic failure. Reyes continued. The Council promised aid within 3 months. Human engineering teams arrived within 72 hours and had the facility operational again within 2 weeks. More data appeared, showing response times, resource allocation, and efficiency. Measurements. In every category, human administration outperformed Council governance by significant margins. You're cherry-picking favorable examples, accused Councillor Kesseran. Am I? Reyes asked. Dr. Ythara, would you care to run a comprehensive analysis of response times and resource allocation across all former Council territories that have requested human protection? Ythara's tentacles worked reluctantly over her controls. When the results appeared, they confirmed Reyes's claims. Human administration was faster, more efficient, and more effective than Council governance in virtually every measurable category. How is this possible? Asked Representative Mordan. The Council has thousands of years of experience in galactic governance. Experience in maintaining the status quo, Reyes replied. Humanity approaches problems differently. When we see inefficiency, we fix it. When we encounter threats, we eliminate them. When citizens need help, we provide it immediately, not when it's convenient. Ambassador Reyes walked to the center of the chamber, her presence commanding attention from every representative present. The choice before you is simple. You can continue trying to maintain authority through tradition and fear, or you can accept that the galaxy has changed. And if we choose to resist this change? Velthar asked, her harmonic voice tight with controlled anger. Then you'll discover why humanity builds ships like the UES Leviathan, Reyes replied calmly. Admiral Thexnor leaned forward. We haven't detected any ship by that designation. You will, Reyes said with quiet confidence. The Leviathan is our first Titan-class dreadnought, 37 kilometers long, armed with enough firepower to sterilize a planet, and protected by shields that could withstand a supernova. It will be operational within 6 months. The chamber fell silent as the representatives tried to process this information. If humanity's cruisers could destroy Council fleets, what could a ship designed for planetary assault accomplish? But that's not why I'm here, Reyes continued. I'm here to offer you a choice. Humanity has no desire to rule the galaxy. We want to expand, explore, and protect our interests. The Council can continue to govern those species that choose to remain under your authority. In exchange for what? Asked Velthar. Recognition of human independence and sovereignty over the territories that have chosen our protection. Mutual, non-interference agreements, perhaps even cooperation on matters of mutual interest. Representative Zixmel activated his display. And if we refuse, then humanity will continue to grow and expand according to our own interests, Reyes replied. More systems will request our protection as they see the benefits we offer. Eventually, the Council will become irrelevant not through conquest but through obsolescence. The horrible logic of the situation was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity wasn't threatening to destroy the Council through military action. They were offering something better than Council rule, and entire systems were choosing to switch sides voluntarily. Time is running out, Ambassador Reyes said as she prepared to leave. Humanity's expansion will continue regardless of Council approval. The question is whether you want to be our partners or our obstacles. As the human delegation departed, the chamber erupted in heated debate. Some representatives argued for immediate military action to stop human expansion. Others pushed for accommodation and cooperation. A few suggested simply withdrawing to the core worlds and allowing humanity to take whatever they wanted. But as the debate raged, new reports continued to arrive. More systems requesting human protection. More human ships appearing in strategic locations. More evidence that the galaxy was changing whether the Council approved or not. High Counselor Velthar looked around the chamber at the representatives of hundreds of species, seeing fear and uncertainty in every face. For 10,000 years, the Council had been the undisputed authority in the galaxy. Now they faced a choice between accommodation and irrelevance. The age of Council supremacy was over. The age of humanity had begun. The only question remaining was whether the transition would be peaceful or whether the old order would force humanity to demonstrate exactly why they had built such overwhelming military power. In the depths of space, human ships continued their expansion, carrying with them the promise of a new galactic order where strength and efficiency would replace tradition and bureaucracy as the foundations of civilization.